welcome back to part 3 of the news project. So this one's going to be a little interesting because I actually deleted the repository for what I was using as a reference, so the main one. So that one's gone. So we're basically going to be building um, all this out. Let's see if I can. So I still have the website up, my personal website. It's going to go down by the time this whole thing's done, because I have to re-upload this the one we're making right now. I have to re-upload this as the repository. But since this part's still on, it's not functional. So since this part's still on, um, we can just look at the outline of what we did and try and recreate it. So everything should still work the same way. That's not the problem. It's the CSS. Um, uh, just by looking at it, I'll try as much as possible to replicate it the way I showed you guys. But all the functions still going to work exactly the same. It's just the CSS is going to might look different. It might come out the same, depending on, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So I know a lot of people aren't here for the CSS portion, so that's probably not a big deal regardless. And you can always customize it to look the way you want it to look. But before that, actually, let's do this real quick. Cool. Awesome. So that way we don't keep getting notifications. But when we stopped last time, we were here. We had the hero page. We had the components. We had all this. I mean, the tabs. We had all this tabs working. So what we want to do now is create this nav with that has the logo and the input field. So the input field, remember, sends information to the back end, which gets us the information, and then we send it back to the front end. So that's what we're going to be working on in this portion of the video. So in order to begin, we have to do a couple of things. One is we want to put these um, in its own folder called pages. So what we want to do is, and just keep in mind, I don't want to exhaust the API. So I'm probably gonna, just like I did in the last video, I'm going to be commenting out basically the whole page while we build out the nav. So we just don't keep calling the API. So in this folder, we're gonna call it pages. And within pages, we're gonna say new file, and we're gonna call it home.js. And we're gonna say RFCE, just like we've been doing. But in home, what we're gonna say is, we're gonna call, what's it called? Hero. I'm just gonna do that. And make sure it imports. Cool. And we're gonna come down here to app.js, and we're gonna take this in home, also have the headline nav. And what we're gonna do is delete this take it out from the app.js. So we don't want anything in the app.js right now. It's just gonna be blank. And then we want to come down here and stop the build. So basically, we want to say npm install what's it called? npm install React router DOM. Okay, it's installed. I don't know why. I think some's just off of my Wi-Fi. Clear npm run start. And then, yep, there you go. So if you look in the packages, source package.json, yep, React router DOM right there. So that should be installed. And what we're going to be using it for is for routing. So I'm going to give you an example now. We're going to say, this is how it works. We already installed it. That's probably why. So if you come here to index.js, it's already been installed. So we installed it a while back. I just forgot. And we have this browser router surrounding the, encasing this app. And what we want to do is, now the same way we have this import from React Router DOM, we want to come to app.js, and say import routes with a S and routes with just a regular E, singular, from React router DOM and semicolon. And now we want to say routes. Make sure it's within this div and say routes with a S. And then within this routes, you want to say routes and then just close the tag. And here you want to say path is equal to just a backslash and element is equal to we're going to import hero, but we're going to say import hero. It should do it automatically for you guys. I don't know why it's doing that. There you go. So now we have this, but we're not importing hero. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. What we're going to be importing is home. So we're going to be importing home, and we're just going to take out this. So home now shows us the whole thing. And the reason we did this was because we want to be able to come here and say, whatever your domain is, when you go to your domain, the home page, when you go to that home page, it gives you this. That's what we're doing here. So now we want to bring down one, and we want to say /search. And we're going to make another page in pages called search.js. RAFCE again, save it. And here we're going to say search, come down to app.js. And here we're going to say search. So now if I come to localhost 3000 / this route path search, I should be met with this search page. So that should give you an idea. So anytime we search for something, it should show up on this page. So I would show you on mine, but it wouldn't work because the server is out. So let's just close out of this so we don't have multiple tabs open. So that's what's going on over there. And now in a component, we want to make something called the nav that would house .jsx. It would house the search input. RAFCE like always, nav. Now, this nav, just so we can see what's going on, we're just going to give it a class name of background black. Height of 10v height. Width of full. Yeah, I should do that. It's fine enough. So this nav, you can't see it right now, but first of all, before we actually make it seen, let's just do this. Let's comment everything out of here, of home, and let's comment everything out of home. So when we go to the home, there's nothing there, just because I don't want to keep calling that API. And hero, let's do the same thing for hero. Yeah. So that way we don't keep calling it. Hero would be overkill, but just to make sure we don't keep calling. We don't want to exhaust it because you don't want this to be a 2-part video. Because if we can't get the data from the API, then our video basically ends. This whole thing basically ends. So we're gonna say nav. Now you can't see the nav because it's not being rendered onto the screen. But now if we come to if we come to app.js, above this div, above this routes, we can now put nav as a component right there. What did I do? Let's see, app.js. Well, there you go. Yeah, so because we commented all that out, so you can't render nothing in terms of you can't render stuff that's being commented out. So let's just take that out. So what we just did is we just showed that nav. So let's say class name here is text. white, so you see where it is. Yep, as you can see, it's right there. So if this part, if home wasn't commented out, let's just uncomment that so you can see what I'm saying. So let's go to app.js and let's just, where is it, app.js, and let's uncomment this. Home, search, hero. So let's uncomment all this out. As you can see, this nav is now at the top. So even if I go to /search, it's still at the top. It doesn't matter. Why? Because in app.js, we made this nav outside of the routes. So it consistently shows up in on the, it's consistently rendering on the page regardless of what route it's on. The route does not matter. It's apart from the route. It's just on the page. It's like me just putting hello here. H1. H1. If I just said hello, it's just regardless of where the route's taking me, it's just gonna say hello. It doesn't matter. So we're gonna say nav, and we have called the API a lot. So we're just gonna comment this out again. And here's hero. Like I said, I don't think this part has to be commented out, but we're just. But, oh, it's not even. There it is. So now everything's commented out again. So now, yeah, that's fine, and that's fine. So now if I come back to nav, this is, let's just should we do, yeah, let's finish the CSS up a little bit. It's not going to take us that long, so let's just say 5 view height. Oh yeah, cool. 5 view, well, we can do 7. 7's fine, so that's fine. 7 view height with, so we want to say flex also, and then justify around. Yeah, it's either justify or we'll see when it's done. Justify around, and then we want to say items or align. Yeah, item center. So we want to put it in the middle here. But let's just wait. And so that's for the H1. Now we're gonna have another div, and within this div is where we have the input. Oh, we have the form first. So we have to do form. Within the form, we have the input. And this field, it's going to be, the type is going to be text. And we're going to say placeholder just so we see what we have. Search. Cool. As you can see, it's right there. So it's not going to be justify around because that's given too much space on the side. It's going to be justify, is it between? There you go. So now there's even amount of space in between both. So we're going to say justify between, and then we're going to have a button here. And this button is going to say search, just for right now. And let's make this text class name, sorry. Text white. Oh, that's stupid. So not the input, the button, class name, text white. And bam, there you have it. So that's how we make the quick CSS to it. I'm not going to go into detail right now because most of you guys are just here for the functionality. I'll do the CSS last, so that way if you don't want to watch it, you can just skip through it. But it would mean a lot if you did watch it. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe also if you like it. So that would mean much to me. So I digress once again. So as you can see, the item center just placed this in the middle. So since this is a height of 7, just divide that by 2 to find the center, and that's where this is positioned. So everything's in line. So if I made this a bigger, it looks the same. If I made this smaller, it looks the same. So it's fully responsive. Okay, so what else now? Okay, so now we have the nav created. What we now want to do is give it some functionality. We're going to come here to the back end. Remember, we're bouncing back and forth. So this is one of the few times we're actually going to go back. And we're going to go to routes. And in routes, we're going to start a new folder. We're going to call it search.js. Let's just go to science and then, or whatever one here, and just copy all this so we don't have to type it in again, and paste. And we're going to be changing this to search route instead of whichever one we copied. It's just the same 5 things we've had before, and we're only changing that part. So there's no need to like copy everything over again. And then we're going to say route module dot exports is equal to search route. And if it seems like I'm going too fast, just let me know in the comment section for next time. I don't have something I'm referencing like the last time. So this is all like, I'm just pouring this out like I'm actually coding it in real time. So, and also after watching part 1 and 2, it should be a lot easier to follow what I'm doing since a lot of it is kind of repetitive. And as you can see, we have all the same routes here. This one's just going to be a tad bit different since it is a post rather than a get, but we'll see that as we go along. So now let's just save that. And we want to export this to the main server. So if we go down to here, let's just bring this down one more because we're lazy, and say search route require slash search because we're using search. And then we save that, come down here, app.use slash search, and we're going to say the route is search route, and everything should still be working. So as you can see, we're not calling on anything, so there's nothing being console logged or anything like that. We're done with index.js for the most part. So now let's do the backend first. So now let's just save this and say search route is equal to dot post, because this is going to be a post since we're sending sending information from here from the, oh, I keep pointing at my screen like you guys can see me. We're sending information from this search to the backend. So it knows, so, and it's going to be posting it to um the URL we're going to give it. So everything's going to make sense shortly. So remember this this backslash refers to slash search because that's what we said the route was, slash search, and we're going to say res, which means request and response. So const, we're going to call this search data is equal to Axios. Let's make sure this says async because we're going to be awaiting a promise. Axios dot. This one's going to be a get because we're getting information from, which is a good question. So now let's quickly jump back to newsapi.org. And there's going to be something different we'll show you here. So remember the endpoint we've been using has been top headlines. We're not using that. We're going to be using everything. And here's why. With everything, you can search through millions of articles, basically by just querying it. By querying it, query, you know what I'm trying to say, by using a query parameter. So for example, we don't care about this advanced search as much because we don't care that the words must not appear with a symbol, whatever. If you do, go ahead and use this advanced search support. But for the most part, I personally didn't use it because I just wanted everything that had to do with what I searched for. However, the restrictions I did give it were I want to restrict my search. So search in to title, anything that has the title I'm using. You can use multiple options such as title and the content. I just chose the title because if the title has it, the content most and the description will most likely have it. The source I didn't care about the source, and then I didn't care about the date, but I used uh, uh, English. The default is all languages are returned. You don't want that. You get a plethora of languages. Trust me. So just go for English or go for whichever ISO code that relates to you. Um, I'm in the US, so English. Sort by, I didn't really use sort by. You can choose whichever one. Um, I didn't really choose one. And for me, I use the page size. I use the page size of 21 because the default's 100. Now, with 21, if you're gonna add pagination to this later on, you can add page and page size. I didn't add pagination. I just wanted um, a simple news application that like I could just browse through headlines and stuff without having to keep on going through different pages. It's not for research, so I don't really care that much. But you can add pagination to yours, page size and page. So those are the request parameters that I'm going to be asking for. Let's just grab this for example. Get everything. So this is it. I'm just picking that out because I don't want to type all that. So let's put it between backticks and then let's wrap this page. And then for API key, I'm going to say API key. For Q, we're going to do this for right now. It's not going to work at the moment, but we're just going to do that. It's going to crash. Actually, let's just do this. It's going to crash the server if we leave it empty. So newsapi.org. So remember, we're doing Q, we're doing language. And I don't believe the order matters as much. So English, I'm gonna say search in, and we're gonna say search in is equal to title. So we want to search in title, and then we want to say page size. So make sure it's in camel case is equal to 21 and the API key. So before we do so, let's just put this all in try catch, so that way we can catch the error. We're going to take all this. I'm just going to plug it in try error. We're going to say console.log. I don't believe I did this quote unquote error handling, this like simple error handling on the previous ones. So I'll probably do it at the end. Go back to the other routes and do all this. It's just a good way to catch errors without breaking the server. So that way it just displays the error and you can keep using it for other things than what the error showed you. You know what I'm saying. So request response. Okay, so now let's just leave this here as is and then go back to the front end. Let's just cancel out of all this because it's a lot. We don't need to do it. So in this nav, at the top here, we're going to be using state to pass the information. So const, we're going to say const is search in, search and search set search data. We're going to call this equal to use state, and we're going to be holding on to a string. So this search pertains to whatever we search in here, and you guys should be familiar with use state now, so I'm not even going to explain it because we've done it a lot now. So let's see, we do that, and then what do we do? Oh yeah, so forgive me, I don't have a reference like I was saying, so it's like, where do I want to start? On submit here, and for right now we're just going to put this just so it doesn't compile with an error. Compile as an error. So here we're going to say const handle submit. So we're not using a use effect here. We're using handle submit, and the reason is because use effect occurs based on the dependency you give it. So when you open a page, it fires that API and sends the data and renders the data. If you did that for handle submit, it just means every time you open a page, there should already be something searched for. So imagine going to Google and something's already searched. Like it doesn't know what you're thinking. So for handle submit, since you're using a form, you pass in the information to the form and then you submit. So the unsubmit, you're submitting the form. So on the and then it works. Yeah, and then a sync, because we're going to be using Axios, which I should definitely import from Axios. I'm not going to save it yet because we're going to get an error since this isn't done. We're going to put E in here because event, and then we're going to do this and then say e.prevent default, and now we can save it. Okay, so we're going to say set search data is equal to an empty string, and here, just before I finish this so I don't forget, we're going to say value within this input field. We're going to say value is equal to search. So we want this value to show whatever it's been searched, and then whenever we submit and run this logic, we're going to reset it to an empty input field. What else now? So what are we doing now? Okay, so const Axios. Let's give it a name first. Const search data is equal to awaits Axios dot get, and we're getting data from, remember, it's HTTP localhost 5000 / search, because that was the route we gave it in index.js, not this index.js, but in this index.js, we gave it the route of search / search. So that's why. But how now what we're doing that's different is we're going to be, did I say get? I meant post. Yeah, so we're saying search. I don't know why I just did that. So here, the search means we're passing whatever we have in search, whatever we're searching for, we're passing it to the backend, which is localhost 5000 / search. We're passing it to this, expecting some kind of information in return, which we respond with in the backend. So remember, this is search. So once again, let's put this in try catch. This is important in case like there is an error what you search for. So let's just say console.log error. Now a better error handling would be like telling you what the error code is, what the status, the error status, the status code, all those things. This isn't that critical that we have to do it. If you want something that's that in depth, I can make another project, but just in a to save time, this is already part 3, so I'm just not gonna do that. It is a good habit to have though. So let's see. Let's bring this up so we can see it. Okay, so this is now where we have this form unsubmit. We're just gonna put handle submit in there because that's what we're doing. And then let's see, are we forgetting something? We'll come back and do that. So let's just get let's console log search data and save. So now if I come to, now I bounce back to the back end, but we're only going the search route. Remember I said we're going to be bouncing back and forth. So let's wrap that. And then when we wrap it, before this try, we're going to say const search. We're going to put search is equal to request.body. And why are we doing that? Is because we're requesting this search object, or is it from here, from this post? We're expecting to get that from it. So we're expecting this search from the body. So we're doing that. And then now in this queue, we can now put in search. So whenever we get the search, it's going to place it in here and give us the information. And then to finish it off, we're going to say yeah, do we have to console? It's a good habit to console log so you can see, but we don't have to do it here in the back end because we're going to see it in the front end. But you can always put console.log there. So you can say res.send, and you're going to be sending the data of search data dot data. Okay, so now let's make sure everything works. Am I forgetting anything? No. Okay, so this should work. If I save this, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Everything looks right to me. So let's search in. That would be something I forgot. Should be. Yeah, that's not correct. That should be say set search, not set search data. I don't know why that says that. So that should say set search. See, I knew we were forgetting something. And then value should say search. I just use search data because I was going to put that as a constant. So that should work now. And now we can say, what are we doing wrong? Search, set search, set search, and set. So we don't have an on. I knew I was forgetting something. So we don't have an unchanged. That was too quick. So I knew we were probably forgetting something. So unchanged is what we forgot. So we're gonna say unchange. And we're gonna say set search, and within set search, we're gonna say e.target.value URL. What? What URL? Oh, I forgot. Yeah, okay. I don't know why that happened. I think when I press something, it just imported automatically. So this should work. So it's e arrow function set search e.target.value and then close. So there we go. So I'm like, what's going on? PlayStation, for example. Now we're gonna search that and hit the search. So we have the handle submit. Let's make sure we save the backend also. Save. So if okay, so let just so we can see immediately if it works, let's just go to console.log, and we're gonna say search data. So this is just to know immediately if it works. So PlayStation, hit search, something broke. Axios is not what? Axios is not defined in the front end. I mean the back end. I need to learn how to spell. There it is. So let's try it again. So doesn't seem like we got anything. Let's go to inspect. Let's go to network. Let's try it again. PlayStation. What's the problem? Search data is not defined. What search data? Oh my god, we just keep breaking stuff. So this should say search. I really need to spell. All right, PlayStation. Okay, so two things were technically wrong with it. One was a technicality, the other one was flat out wrong. So for the first one, I believe we forgot to put a weight either in the front end or in the back end. I believe in the back end, we forgot to put a weight here. So technically, that should have console logged like a promise. It should have said something like promise. But the reason why nothing was showing up was because we just had to like fully quit Chrome. So I guess it was just catched in it. So we had to like physically go to quit Chrome and then restart it. That's what worked. So it was already probably working for you guys. It's because I made that mistake the first time or the second time. It just kind of hooked and stayed on the browser. It just kind of the error just kind of stayed on the browser and didn't go away. from where we were calling it from the API. So once you put a wait here, that's it. Just put a wait. It doesn't matter if you close out of this, the server and the front end part. It doesn't matter if you stop the console. If you stop the server and the console, it's still, if you don't close out of Chrome, if you're using Chrome, it's still going to give you that same error for some reason. So we're just going to close out of this and then npm run start. So everything we had code-wise works perfectly. We just forgot to put a wait here. Remember, it's a sync await and then run start here. So we should be fine. Index. So everything's still the same. So you can look at it to double check to make sure yours is still the same. I didn't change anything. So either I put a wait here or I put a wait in the back end. So one of them was missing in the wait. And then I just put that in. But as you can see in the back end also, I didn't change anything. It's just left the same way. But now if we look at PlayStation, it's just we just had one too many errors and didn't close out of the browser properly. So just make sure you go to Chrome and go to quit Google Chrome. You have to quit it. And then PlayStation, as you can see, everything shows up here. So now if I inspect this and I go to console, it says object with articles. So there you go. So all the articles are there. So now what we want to do is not only say search data.data, we want to say search data.data.articles and console log it here also. And we want to be careful not to call it too many times because I called it a lot to make sure we knew what was going on with it. Oh, so we just want to let's get out of this and save that. And then let's just run this again. And close. Now we're going to say PlayStation again. Cool. So as you can see, all the articles are here again. And if I inspect it, it shows me the array of 21 articles. So we're done with the backend for the most part. So let's just close out of the backend. Now we want to focus on the front end. Hold on, actually, let me go back to that backend and let me just, we're just going to keep it. That's fine. So we want to come here. And now that we see that it's working, we want to send this data so we can actually populate it. We want to send this data to this search page. So we want to say anytime you search something on this in this search field, right? This search field right here, we want to send the data to a page which is localhost 3000/search. We want to send the data to this page, to this search page. So how do we go about doing that? Let's go back here. So what we want to say is we want to go to nav, and then in this logic, we're going to say, I believe we have, do I have notes on this? Just so I can explain it better. Yeah, we're going to be using import navigate. So, and that's from the, use navigate. I said navigate equals from the React router DOM. That's where we're getting it from. So it's one of the, there you go. It's from the React router DOM. So we're going to come here. Make sure you're not in this handle submit right now. So come here and then say const navigate is equal to use navigate, and it's a function. So just give it the parentheses. So here we're going to come here and use this navigate and say navigate. Let's stop calling this. So we can leave it just so we can see the data. So navigate to /search. That should be in parentheses /search, and we're going to be saying state. We're going to have a in here curly braces, and then we're going to say state and another parentheses, and we're going to be saying data refers to, where is it? Search data.data. Because remember, search data is the variable we're using to receive whatever we sent from the back end. So we're gonna do that. So to break this down, we're using the state property, and we're saying this data corresponds to search data. That's pretty much it. Now that means anytime we click search, we will be navigated to /search route, which is the search route, and it with that search route is gonna be while we route to this search route, while we go to this search route, we're gonna be sending this data along with it. So we're sending ourselves to the search route along with this data. So now if I go here and I type in PlayStation, I should be rerouted. See, I was rerouted to the search, as you can see right here. So now if I go into search, in order to use what we just sent over, what I'm gonna say is, I believe is what did I have? Const state is equal to use location, and it will import itself and cons. And just a quick tip, if you do end up having to type this out verbatim, if it doesn't import automatically, just make sure you have a space between the curly braces. So sometimes it throws it off, or it just probably wouldn't work at all. But just make sure there's a space. It's a little pattern between, like one space between the left and the right curly braces. So this is exactly in the middle. Uh, uh, React is a real stickler about that. And then, so we're gonna say state is equal to use location. Is it? Yeah, it's this. And then say data is equal to state. So now we can use data freely within this. So now if we say console.log data, and data is search data.data. So you don't have to say data.data. So you just say data. Yeah, it's console log data. That should work. If you look here, inspect it. Okay, something is awry. So let's go back here. Okay. Okay, so first of all, what we can see is search data has to be search data.data. And then we can save. So we're saying search data.data because I actually thought this search data.data was what was being passed into data, being passed as data, but it was just search data. So that's the first reason why that wouldn't work. And then also, if we come back here to, let's see, app.js. So as you can see, all these routes were commented out. So let's uncomment that. And then let's go to hero. Do I actually need hero? Let's see, app.js. Yeah, we need to uncomment all this. So let's uncomment. So let's uncomment all this and save. So now, this should work. So if we go ahead and search in PlayStation. Okay, so remember we console.log, inspect the page. We don't need to worry about this. This has to do with something else. But if we look here, search.js, let's do it again actually. So if you see it, it says search.js number 11. So it pertains to number 12. It's because we text wrapped it. But as you can see, the array shows up. So these are all the articles that we were looking for when we said console.log data. So it shows that this data was actually passed into this component. So that's good. That's what we're looking for. But now we want to do the same thing we've been doing for these components, the business, the science, and the sport components, which is, let's just go into one of them. We want to say, let's wrap this. We want to say, we want to add this CSS and all these divs to it to make it look like what we had before, like what we have on the tab page. So the easiest way to do that, rather than typing all that in, is let's just go to sports, for example. Well, actually, let's go to business since we already wrapped it again. And let's take this whole div. Let's copy that, and let's go. Let's close that. Let's close out of everything else so we don't get mixed up. And then stay in search. Just close out of that. And then let's encase everything like so. Remember, if you don't encase it and you put a commented out div, it's not going to compile properly just because of React. So now we can now say, because our data here is data, we can say data and data and data.map. We're just going to call the variable data just to make everything the same. It's just easier to read. And now if you look over here, you're going to see, actually, I think I copied the wrong thing. Let me see, business. What did I copy? Okay, we have to take from this bottom div to this top div. Everything in return. Everything within the return is what we're taking. So we're just going to come back up here and recomment it out. Cool. So now, as you can see, let's wrap this. Let's move that out the way. As you can see in this return for the business, we're basically doing the same thing, except we're using data rather than business info. So as you can see at the top, the div is that the whole thing is encased in the div. We have the same thing here, and here for the return, we're gonna say return parentheses, and we're gonna say another div, and we're just following all this. So we can take everything within this div and copy it and paste it. Just make sure it says class name. Cool. And we should be fine there. As you can see, we have the CSS, but since nothing's in it, it's not going to say anything. Now for the top div, the one encasing the whole thing, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to get class name all the way till here, copy that, and there we go. See, the CSS is working. So now we can now focus on, let's say, link to, I'm going to say data.url, data question mark .url, target is equal to blank. And let's make sure we spell this right this time, because in our last video we spelled this wrong. So no opener and no refерrer. Yep, that's about right this time. So, and we're set. So everything within this link, anytime we click on it, it's going to take us to the data URL. So now we can start plugging in stuff like class name is equal to, let's just take this. Actually, we can type that in ourselves. With full, height is full, and padding of 5. And the source would be data.url to image. There shouldn't be any quotation marks. Let's just make a space here. And then the key should equal data dot source dot id. The alt for the accessories, wait, for the, is it called accessories? For accessibilities, is data dot dot title. And that should be it. So everything should appear here. So as you can see, this one doesn't have an image, but this whole thing does. Cool. So let's see, is there anything else we need to add? And if we click it, so let's see if it actually works. Ooh, see, that's not good. So now we can say, let's keep working on it though, but everything should come out okay. So we're gonna use class name for h1 and say text is black and text is center. I'm gonna say data dot title. Cool. So okay, so as you can see, the reason why this shows twice when this is a great example. The reason why this shows twice when there's no image is because we said uh, the alt here is data title. So meaning when there's no image or something like that, we're just gonna give it the title. So it takes the place of the image. Now, for example, if I take this out and I save it, as you can see, nothing is attributed to that image. It's just a blank image and a title, just like everything else has. But because there's an alt, you can see this there. So that's what that's for. So that's a great example of that. Now let's make this bigger. As you can see, there's something wrong with our animation. So let's look at the animation. With full border is 5. And I believe we have way too much. Yup, that's the problem. So for this div, we have way too much animation because this div actually doesn't have that. Um, we're taking this out, so I made an error, and we're gonna take this. This is what this div has. We're just gonna plug it in there. So now we should be fine. Yeah, so that part didn't make sense. So if we look at it, everything is set. So the reason why we was doing that is because we made this whole div animated. We gave it the same animation as just the child div. So as you can see, everything has the gap that we're looking for. So it's exactly the same CSS features. It has exactly the same CSS features as the business, science, and sports. So you just copy it verbatim, except just make sure you change the uh, whatever you're mapping to its to the correct data. So here it's not going to be business info. We just called it data, and we're going to use it as data. So that's pretty much it. Let's just close out of that. We don't need that anymore. We can keep this tag. It's fine. It doesn't do anything. So that's that. So while I was reading through this, it kind of caught my eye. I didn't spell this correctly. I said handle submit. It should be handle submit. And let's just make this change here also before. Let's just spell properly. So before we finalize it. Now since this part's done for the most part, let's work on our nav. So let's close out a search because we have that. So now let's finish up the nav link. So for the nav link, we're just gonna put link to is equal to slash yeah, we're just gonna say link to slash. And the reason we're doing that is because in app.js, the path is just a backslash, which means it's going to home. So we're just gonna do that. We're gonna make sure all this, drop this, is within this. So meaning if I ever click, there we go. So if I ever click this nav, it should take me right to the home page, just like that. Okay, that's it. This is a sad story. Let's just, yep. All right, so now let's change this nav to news. Cool. So we're changing it to that as our, you can change it to whatever you want. I just put it as news. And then style this input field. So where is it? Form input. So class name, we're gonna say class name is background transparent. Cool. I'm gonna give it let's see. So you see when you click on it, it has like this focused outline. We don't want that. So we're gonna come here and say focus, and we're gonna say outline none. So when we click on it, there's no outline. And now we're gonna say border. We want a border bottom, like so. And then for this, so this part's pretty much done. Let's see, text white. There we go. So the text is white. So now you can see whatever you PlayStation. You can see whatever you type in there. And let's make this search with a capital, and let's give it this. So that makes it a little better. We can also say for the form, we'll just give it a class name and say cursor pointer. So that way if we come here, as you can see, it gives us that pointer. So we're able to just point rather than, so actually, let's see. Let's leave it here, and let's just use it as input. So let's say cursor pointer. Yep, so that way the whole input you can point. Yeah, so that works. So you can do the same thing for news. So we're good with that. And now let's style this search. So button, just say background green. I always like to put green because it's just a let's go. We can give this whole thing of padding 5. Yep, we're just giving a padding of 5 just to match this. So it's a padding of 5. Actually, let's give it a padding of 3. Yeah, that's fine. And then for the search, remember you guys can do whatever you want with it. Let's just say rounded medium. So that gives it this, it gives it a different border radius. And yeah, that's it. So let's see if we can, what the pattern would be if we gave it a 2. That would be too big. Pattern of 1, pattern of, let's just, we don't, that's fine. Let's just leave it like that. So this is fine. It works with the, if you click enter, it works also. So let's see, read, that works. Next does not work. So let's go back. We're just finishing up any loose ends we have here. So for the hero page, when we did it, we only left it as like a reference. We didn't complete it. So read works because it takes you to the hero info. However, for the link to the next, we want to change this. We don't want it to link um to this. So we're just gonna we're gonna take this link out. Let's see. We're gonna take everything but the button. Actually, link to, let's see. No, we don't want to link it. However, let's take this class name. Yeah, we need that class name. So let's take the class name, cut that out. Take this link out, save it, and then give it. Jeez. So cut that out. Take the link out, class name, and Yep, so we have the same thing. So um, what we want to do is say on click here, and we want to take this fetch data because that's the data we're getting from it. So this fetch data and plug it in to here and save. So now if I click on that, it works smoothly. So that is the basis of our thing. Let's see if everything works. Let's use something else. Let's say uh Nintendo. Yep. And as you can see, everything works great. So even the things with no image, it has the alt next to it, which just tells you the title. And then you have that. And then let's see if the click works. So if I click on this, yep, it goes right to the page. So we're pretty much done. And close out of that. Let's see. Okay, so let's use a different font here. So I think in one of my old projects, um, I I'm just gonna copy my font styling. You don't have to do this. That was the last part of what I did to my original project. So I'm just gonna copy that and see you guys when I do that. Okay, so we are back, and okay, so basically what I just did was I just copied this. You guys could just copy this, but let's start with index.css. So in index.css, I believed I used this in my last, I think in the Marvel or the weather project I did. It's I imported these fonts from Google, the Sans Railway, and at this different weight, text weights. And then I imported the Great Vibes family, and these everything else is just Tailwind, which we have here. And then to in order to use it in the Tailwind, in order to use it in Tailwind, I just did this at layer base. So the base layer for the whole HTML, I'm going to be using um, font family of Railway sans serif, which I believe, yep, I imported here from Google. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to be taking this part out, the one that came with index.css, the index.css original styling. We're going to take that out. So I'm just going to take everything here out and uncomment this. So if you guys want, you guys could just copy that. Basically, when you go on Google, you're just able to see these fonts and you're taking every single font from it. That's going to be the base. So as you can see, this would change, I believe. Did it change? Let's see. Yeah, so that would change. So let's uncomment that out. And now in the Tailwind configuration, I made sure that we can say the font family. We can use cursive in place of Great Vibes. So when we say cursive, we're alluding to Great Vibes. So that's what we're going to be using. Let's just do not disturb. Cool. Cool. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're doing here. And let's see, did we yeah, so that's for the most part. So let's see how ours looks on my website. So we just make it bold. And all right, so on the website I use this what do you call it? This image. You can either do that or just you can go to React icons and grab one. So I think that's what I did. So actually let's do that really quickly. Um where is it? React icons. Actually, let's make this bold first. This news. So where are we? Let's close out of that. News. So it'll be nav, not hero. So in the nav, let's make this news. Yeah, and then we're gonna say uh, text bold or font bold. Sorry. And voila. So we have that. And then, oh, before we do that, let's make that the complete last thing we do. So what we want to do also is make sure that this nav stays up top and we can just scroll while it moves. So what we want to say is div class, we're going to say position is, how did it go again? It was sticky top 0, I believe. Yep, there you go. So you just say sticky and top is 0. So that way, well, what just happened? Let's make sure there's no errors first. Okay, that's what's happening. So something's wrong. Let's work on that really quickly. Okay, so with just sticky and top 0, this is gonna occur. So let's save that. And if we come back, let's refresh this. If we open this up, as you can see, like things go above the bar. So what we want to do is give it a Z. So if we come to Tailwind real fast, just to see the documentation, and you can say Z index. So this allows the controlling of stack order of an element. So that's what the Z index does. So if we give it a Z index of 50, so let's give it a Z index. Let's come here. And if we say Z, as you can see, that stops it. Let's close out of that. So now we can just scroll all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. So there's no problem there. So let's go to this. As you can see, the same thing occurs. We're all set. And now like I said earlier, let's just change that. We're just gonna go to React icons. It's gonna, if you say React search icon, it's gonna show you React icons. And right here, just do search, and we're going to be using this one, the AI outline search. So I'm going to copy that. And right here, we're just going to import it instead of search and make sure it's a component. So now it's gonna compile an error because that's not there. What you want to do is now go back to the main Google search and just say React icons, and then come over to npm.js and then install this React icons. So we come back here, clear this, and just install React icons. Now it should still compile an error, npm run start. And yeah, it's gonna compile an error, correct. And what we want to do, so if you go back to, let's open our last close tab. If we come here, it shows you how to do it. So you're importing this. This is an example of how to use it. So let's just take this, for example, close out of that, come back here and import this. However, we're going to be importing um, outline AI outline search. I'm just going to plug it in there. And there we go. So we just wrote it wrong. So import AI outline search from React icons AI. And now, as you can see, it's over here. And now we can just give it a padding and we're all set. So give it a padding of what, 2? Or a padding of 1.5. Yep, that's fine. And for the AI, we just say class name, text, to vmin. Let's see if this is actually working. Yep, that works. So let's say 3 vmin, or that's too big, 1.5 vmin, it's too small. So 2.5 min. Let's go with 2. 2.2 min. So that looks about right. And yeah, there you have it. The whole thing's done. It's you have yourself a news API app. Okay, so since everything's working properly, before we leave, let's just make sure our console.log isn't being used erratically. So we don't want excess data showing up in our console than we need. So this is commented out, but just to make the code cleaner, we just take that out. We need that. So we have, let's just scroll through it. There's no console log here, no console log. Just take this out, even though it's commented out, and that's the only console.log left. And that's because we don't want extra information that we don't need being sent to the console. So here, yeah, that's fine. That's fine, and that's fine. So let's go to the back end. So we're done with the components part. Home, search, nope. Okay, so we're good with the front end. Let's go to server, and in routes, business, let's take this out. 0, we're still gonna take that out. Science, same thing. Search, same thing. Sports, the same thing. And let's also, before we leave, let's just, like I said earlier, let's just put everything within a try catch. So that way we can actually know if there's a problem. It's just a good habit since this is like minimal error handling. So that's a good habit. Sports, okay. Search, okay. Science, same thing. Try catch. I'm just gonna take this. Console.log error. Cool. 0. Yeah, this is a great idea because we don't have that much error handling, and you don't want to like freak out if something's wrong. You just see it in the console and you understand, like, all right, like this is why we're getting that problem. Console.log error 0. Bam. Okay, so seems like we're all done. Let's close out of all this. And cool. So let's open this up. There's always some kind of news. It's not okay, so we can end on this one. All right, so pretty much that's it. We're all done with the project. If you guys liked it, please don't forget to don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and share the video also if you did enjoy it. It would mean a lot to me. Uh, Hopefully you guys are following through with it with part 1, part 2, and part 3. You're able to, and well, this being part 3, you're able to follow along, follow through, and it's not giving you problems or anything like that. If it is, you can always let me know in the comment section. But I'd love to hear what you think about the project. It's a nice, fairly intermediate project since you're working with routing and you're working with posting things to the back end and with APIs. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like always, don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you guys on another project.